The temperature the past few days had hit 45 degrees at the afternoon peak. The exposed skin was sun-cracked. Later, those on the ground would see the thick and thin marks in the dust and would fix their eyes on the distant horizon, trying not to think about how they had been made. The headstone threw a small shadow. It was the only shade in sight, and its blackness was slippery, swelling and shrinking as it ticked around like a sundial. The man had crawled, then dragged himself as it moved. He had squeezed into that shade, contorting his body into desperate shapes, kicking and scuffing the ground as fear and thirst took hold. He had a brief respite as night fell, before the sun rose and the terrible rotation started again. It didn't last as long on the second day, as the sun moved higher in the sky. The man had tried, though. He had chased the shade until he couldn't any more. The circle in the dust fell just short of one full revolution, just short of 24 hours. And then, at last, the stockman finally had company, as the earth turned and the shadow moved on alone, and the man lay still in the centre of a dusty grave under a monstrous sky. Chapter 1. Nathan Bright could see nothing, and then everything all at once. He had crested the rise, gripping the steering wheel as the off-road terrain tried to snatch control from his hands, and suddenly it was all there in front of him. Visible but still miles away, giving him too many minutes to absorb the scene as it loomed larger. He glanced over at the passenger seat. "Don't look," he was tempted to say, but didn't bother. There was no point. The sight dragged the gaze. Still, he stopped the car further from the fence than he needed to. He pulled on the handbrake, leaving the engine and the air conditioner running. Both protested the Queensland December heat with discordant squeals. "Stay in the car," he said. "But—" Nathan slammed the door before he heard the rest. He walked to the fence line, pulled the top wires apart and climbed through from his side to his brother's. A four-wheel drive was parked near the stockman's grave, its own engine still running and its air conditioner also spinning full pelt, no doubt. Nathan cleared the fence as the driver's door opened and his youngest brother stepped out. "G'day," Bub called, when Nathan was close enough to hear. "G'day." They met by the headstone. Nathan knew he would have to look down at some point. He delayed the moment by opening his mouth. "When did you—" He heard movement behind him and pointed. "Oi! Stay in the bloody car!" He had to shout to cover the distance, and it came out more harshly than he'd intended. He tried again. "Stay in the car!" Not much better, but at least his son listened. "I forgot you had Xander with you," Bub said. "Yeah." Nathan waited until the car door clicked shut. He could see Xander's outline through the windshield. At 16, more man than boy these days. He turned back to his brother, the one standing in front of him at least. Their third sibling, middle-born Cameron Bright, lay at their feet at the base of the headstone. He had been covered, thank God, by a faded tarp. Nathan tried again. "How long have you been here?" Bub thought for a moment, the way he often did, before answering. His eyes were slightly hooded under the brim of his hat, and his words fell a fraction of a beat slower than average speaking pace. "Since last night, just before dark. Uncle Harry's not coming?" Another beat, then a shake of the head. "Where is he, back home with Mum?" "And Ilsa and the girls," Bub said. "He offered, but I said you were on your way." "Probably better someone's with Mum. You have any trouble?" Nathan finally looked at the bundle at his feet. Something like that would draw out the scavengers. "You mean dingoes?" "Yeah, mate. Of course. What else? There wasn't a huge amount of choice out there." "Had to take a couple of shots." Bub scratched his collarbone, and Nathan could see the edge of the Western Star of his Southern Cross tattoo. "But it was okay." "Good. All right." Nathan recognised the familiar frustration that came with talking to Bub. He wished Cameron were there to smooth the waters, and felt a sudden sharp jab of realisation under his ribs. He made himself take a deep breath, the air hot in his throat and lungs. This was difficult for everyone. Bub's eyes were red and his face unshaven and heavy with shock, as was